Hola, hola, Paletitas. Welcome back to another episode of Las Paleteras. I'm Cesar Camacho.
I'm AnaShelia.
Yo soy Nalgona.
And we're your hosts for today. So before we begin, we're here ready for the chismecito and desmadre. You guys know we love a little bit of everything. But before, we want to give a little shout out to our parents who might be watching. Hola, Maya, Pa.
Hola, mami.
I think this might be an episode that is going to be a little G-rated. But we never know.
I know, I want episodes that my mom can watch. I've been telling you, y siempre que siento que vamos a tener uno, algo dice la Nalgona.
I know, nunca sabemos con la Nalgona,
¿Por qué soy yo?
Nunca sabemos
soy yo, amigas? ¿Por qué soy yo?
¿Qué se le va a ocurrir?
Miren, pero cuando yo sea la que traiga el rating, no que se estén quejando.
But today might be PG, maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But today we're going to talk about family and our chosen family. So I think it might be a little G-rated, PG. So we'll see how it goes. But before we dive in, I kind of just want to know, what's your relationship with your family? Because we've talked about it briefly, like as we're eating and chilling, but what's that relationship like with like your parents, your siblings, your tias, your tios?
I just because I love that before we dive in, you for pinche clavadazo. Like, what is your relationship?
Before we dive in,
I was like,
family.
I was like, let me unpack 33 years of trauma. Okay, let's go.
But I mean, it is like a crazy topic as like queer folks and our journey. But yeah, how is that relationship with your...
Well, I mean, to your point earlier of like, why were you laughing of like the hola mami? And I was like, I really don't necessarily, I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I don't need my parents' validation. So I'm like,
you don't give a fuck.
No.
She's like, ni veas el episodio.
I'm like, but I'm also realizing like, is that, I mean, I think some of that is rooted in trauma because I just like, my parents were working parents. I was a latchkey kid. I'm the oldest. Mm-hmm. And like my first performances were in elementary school and nobody ever showed up. So I think I've just been accustomed to no one showing up. So I just do things for myself now. So it is a little harsh. But also I feel like I'm not a familial person. Damn, it's a lot. Why you ask this question so soon? But like I'm the oldest in my family. And so I feel like I wasn't meant to be the oldest. And that's something I feel like I've always wrestled with my entire life because it was so easy to run away from home or to like think about not being part of my family for being queer. And then my nephew was born. I have a 5-year-old nephew. Yeah. And then that little human changed everything.
Yeah.
Like now I can't abandon my family and not necessarily for them, but for my nephew. But that's made it also like for example, I used to say for a long time that I told my mom that I loved her every day. Yeah. Just in case she or her I died, like whatever. I did everything to say I loved her every day, and that was that. And specifically being born and raised in LA. If you're from LA, usted sabe that we've been traumatized with the big one. We've been doing drills since elementary school y no ha llegado el big one. Pero that's
knock on wood.
Right.
Porque ha llegado muchos earthquakes recently.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm scared.
Ay, pues no es México. Ahorita México anda bien sacudida. But I think so now I think about like, okay, bitch, what would happen if the earthquake did hit? Antes I'd be like, fuck, que se salven los que se van a salvar. I'm gone, deuces. And now I'm like, dude, I gotta run back for my nephew. But if I run back for my nephew, that's my sister. And if it's my sister, fuck, that's my mom.
Mamá.
And if it's my mom, God damn it, my little brothers. And I get at that point my dad too.
Entonces tu nephew kind of like reconnected you to your family in a way.
Like it. No me gusta. Pero sí, that's where I'm at with my family. I think what's interesting, at least in my family, is that there's 2 childhoods that played out. Because my sister, I'm the oldest of 4, but my sister and I have a 5-year difference. And then between my younger siblings, I think it's like 16 and 14 years. So they were born when I was in high school. Yeah. And so my sister and I grew up together. And by the time there is a 16 and 14-year difference.
Wow.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. And so when I left for undergrad, my siblings were 4 and 2.
Yeah.
They were little. And I was gone for 4 years. And then I was gone for 7 years. So for them, my sister is their oldest sibling. And I just became a third adult in the family. And so it's been interesting to navigate that. And I think when I came back to LA after being gone for a couple years, it was navigating like the relationship I had with each one of them. Yeah. But it's cute now. My sister is a big fan of Sailor Moon, just as much as I am. Shout out to all the little Sailor Scouts out there. And I love it because she's such a fan of Sailor Moon, even as an adult. And I remember that we as kids used to play pretend we were Sailor Scouts. You know what I mean? Like that was our little game. So there's something very beautiful in knowing that she's such a fan now as an adult because I know that is a core memory that we have together from our childhood. And to know that my sister and I have that together, like that's beautiful.
Yeah, those core memories I feel like are so important and they keep you connected for so long.
Yeah.
No? Yeah, I think for me, I would kind of talk about my relationship with my family is based on 3 big things. Number 1, my queer identity. Number 2, my dad dying. And number 3, being a recovering people pleaser.
Wow.
So number 1.
That's heavy.
I've never heard that before, but
That's me neither. A recovering people pleaser.
Yeah, no. So number 1, being queer. I was in the closet for a long time. I know some of y'all came out a little earlier, but I was in my 20s when I came out. I waited a really, really long time, and what that meant was I was in the closet for a long time. Which what I meant was I wasn't sharing with my family something that was a really big part of me, and that I had known for a long time. It's not like I was discovering it. I fucking knew this, but I couldn't tell my family. Yo me sentía, my religion at that point was really important to me. And I felt like I was doing something. I felt like it's something I had to suppress. Entonces, I couldn't share with my family. Like, it felt like something that was wrong with me. And so I couldn't. And so that, I think, informed how I related with my family. If you're not telling such a big part of you, you're not really being your full self with your family. And so that was how I grew up, was this connection that was a little bit disconnected, And then the number 2, my dad dying, I feel like that was a really big shift for me thinking about how I want to relate with my family. And so with my mom, like for the longest time, she's wanted me to feel like she was my friend. And I couldn't feel like, I didn't see her as my friend because for so long I had a relationship where I couldn't talk to her about things, and she wanted it so badly. And I just realized, especially after my dad died, like, nada más tengo mi mamá, like this is my opportunity to really deepen my relationship with my mom, something that she so badly wants. It's something that doesn't feel very natural to me, but what a beautiful thing that I get to do during the rest of my lifetime is to get to work through some awkwardness in order to have a closer relationship with the parent that I have left. Entonces, para mí, my dad dying was an opportunity for me, like, aquí está mi mamá, like she loves me so much, I love her so much, and like, okay, I have to get over some awkwardness, pero like I've been really focused on like really having her become a friend and just realizing, yeah, it feels fucking weird sometimes when I'm telling her about my relationship. Y yo le digo a todo, like she's been supportive for a long time now. Not todo.
I was like, ay, señora, ya vio los episodios, ya vio su hija.
I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Ya vio a su hija.
Okay, slight tangent. This one time when I was leaving Mexico, I was living in Mexico for a while. My mom came and my brother came anyway, and my mom helped me pack up. And I was like, oh my God, she's packing up my room. Shit, okay, what do I have that's of concern here? And I had a dildo and I had weed, right? And I was so concerned about her not finding the dildo that she found my weed. And I hadn't told her that I smoked weed, and I was like, she knew I was queer. She knew I was queer, but I was so scared. It's weird.
Como el videito de la abuelita de que me hice un té de tu hierba, amiga.
And
that
she
was your mom in the video? No, good.
And she was like, ¿qué es esto? And I was like,
Mota, señora, es mota.
We were gonna keep it PG. No, I'm kidding.
It wasn't me.
No, I'm kidding. It was you this time. Con el
you.
dildo, el butt plug. ¿Qué?
Who mentioned a butt plug?
You didn't
Oh,
mention
es que amigas, we want to do Paletitas merch that's a butt plug. Let us know in the comments if you'd buy it.
different shapes, different sizes.
Pues anyway, regresando a mi mami.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm blushing.
But anyways, and so like I'm like, yeah, okay, it feels a little awkward, but it's been really beautiful. And there's always like when we lose somebody, there's always something really beautiful that we can gain from the loss. And for me, it's been the opportunity to get closer to my mommy, and it's been really beautiful.
What an interesting juxtaposition that it's death that brought you together, and for me, it's a new life that brought us together.
I know, ¿verdad? Yeah. Y qué bueno que era mi número 3.
point.
Tenía el third point.
Being a
people pleaser.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on this one. But it's like, for so long, I lived my life like doing what I think other people thought I should do. Mm-hmm. Like very type A, como, very traditional, like career trajectory. And it was never for me, and that's why I was in the closet for so long, because I was like, I'm trying to be the perfect Mexican daughter, perfect Mexican immigrant. And so that means and that for me, part of that meant being straight. Right? Me being perfect meant me being straight, meant getting straight A's, meant going into very traditional career things. Y entonces ahora, it's me like letting go of that and like being okay, just truly being myself and letting my relationships come from a more authentic place. So like that's kind of also affects how I've been relating with my family. And before I was so scared of coming out because I'm like, ¿qué van a decir? Right? And after I came out to my immediate family, I was like, after this, you know what? Fuck it. Like, lo que piensen mis tíos y mis tías ya me vale madre. Like, si ellos me quieren, great. I love that. Pero si no, like, ya no me importa.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, and I think that that's actually produced really more authentic relationships with the family that I have. And I actually feel really grateful because I used to hide a lot of my personality because I was trying to fit into a box with everybody. And after I let go of that, it really actually made the relationships I do have with my family members much more powerful.
100%.
So
That's dope.
those are my 3 points.
Thank you for sharing.
I love that last point too, because I feel like, I mean, I'm such a mama's boy, so.
Yeah, I can see that.
I talk to my mom every day.
¿Se nota o no se nota?
Se nota. Se nota.
Si no le marco, me regaña. Y si yo no me marco un día, I'm like,
¿Qué se te olvidó
¿estás
que
bien?
tienes
I'm like,
madre?
yeah, she's like,
Y yo
¿ahora
que
qué
sí.
quieres? But yeah, I talk to my mom every day, so I feel like that's, and like we make it a point to talk to each other every day, even if it's like a quick little like buenas noches or like a quick little call. But I mean, it's just me, my dad, my little sister, and me.
Yeah.
I have a huge family. Mom has like 14 siblings.
Oh,
like
shit.
my dad has like 8 siblings. Like
Damn.
there's a lot of us, and it's like a huge Mexican family. But
Por eso siempre estás en México para una fiesta, ¿no?
I know, siempre hay un bautismo, una primera comunión, like 10
quinceañera.
weddings a year, girl. Baby showers. But I think I related to you with your third point because for the longest time, I feel like my parents have been super supportive of me growing up.
Yeah.
Like they're very attentive. We travel a lot together. Like I see them like, even now that I live in LA, I see them like every 3 months in Chicago and Mexico, or they come to visit me, which I love. I feel like those are moments that I'm not gonna get back. So anytime we have an opportunity to travel and just kind of like be with us or our grandparents, I try to cherish those moments. But for the longest time, I kind of would push them away a little bit because I wasn't like you said, the stereotypical like Mexican son, like that loves all like the man stuff. And I feel like I couldn't relate to my dad in that way. And I felt like because they are, like we grew up in like a very Mexican traditional household. So I feel like I was scared of getting rejected, even though like they never made me feel that way. But I would kind of almost push my dad away a little bit that like, I just didn't want to be like, ya cuando llegue el momento that he says something negative, I don't want to get hurt. So I slowly pushed away for the longest time. But it wasn't until like recently that I talked to him about it. And it was like why did I push you away so long for so long when you never made me feel that certain type of way?
Wait, did you have this conversation with him?
Yeah, it was recently.
A ver, ¿y cómo le dijiste o cómo fue? Like, how did you bring this up?
I mean, in college, I told my mom and I told her the same thing like as you. Like, I don't care. Like, as long as you accept me, that's all I care about. Like, if my tios don't accept me, they don't pay my bills. Like, I don't need to like please them or like care what they have to say. Like, as long as you 3 like accept me, that's all I care about. But she was like, pues tú dile tu papá. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to like tell him. I feel like he knows, but like it was kind of like this unspoken thing.
Yeah.
And this was like a year ago. He was driving me to the airport to get back to LA. And we were like in the parking lot at
Just
O'Hare.
the 2 of you.
Just the 2 of us.
Okay.
And I was like, Apá, te tengo que decir algo. And he's like, what? And I don't know why it was so hard. I was like 27.
Oh my God, yeah, it's hard.
And I was in the car and I just started crying. And I was like, I feel like I want to get closer to you. And I feel like I can't like be my full self. And I feel like everyone around me, like over the years, like your siblings, like my tios and my tias, we all make queer jokes. Like they know about my hookups. We're so open. But like when my parents are there, like the tone kind of shifts out of respect to my parents. And like, I don't want that. Like I want you guys to be part of my life. I want you guys to come to queer events and like meet my queer friends and like know you guys are part of that. Which that's also a journey too. Like having them involved in like your queer life, experiencing like queer friends. But we were in the car and I was just like crying in his pickup truck. And then he starts crying. And before I could even tell him, he's like, I want to apologize for like not being a good dad or like not being there for you. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like you've been like the best dad, the best role model. I feel like I couldn't have asked for a better dad. I just feel like I pushed you away because I was scared, even though you never made me feel that way. And he just started apologizing about like all this crazy stuff that I was like, in my mind, like that never came up because I feel like you always provided, you were always there. Like you supported all my crazy dreams of like moving to LA, going to college. And I feel like it opened up this like can of worms to like finally like have deeper conversations with my dad that weren't just like surface level. Pa ocupado con el carro. So I feel like now we're slowly like getting into like queer spaces together, which I think is super beautiful. But I mean, it takes time like to get into that space. But chosen family helps you get into that space.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. No, now I feel like I got to see you at el premiere de
DocuTales,
and you brought your family, no? Was it both of your parents?
Yeah, that was like the first experience. And that's kind of why I told my dad, to begin with, because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, you're gonna come to a project that I'm like super proud of. Like I play a queer character. It's super queer. There's like queer storylines, and like I don't think they've ever seen queer storylines the right way. Because in telenovelas, it's always so stereotypical. So I feel like, not that I wanted to warn him, but I was just kind of like, okay, you're gonna be into my world. Like this is my LA world, LA queer world, my queer friends. And he came, met a lot of my friends. He was at the premiere.
Yeah.
And he was like making jokes with like everyone. And I feel like it was one of those moments where I'm like, my two worlds kind of collided for the first time in a beautiful way, where like he felt comfortable. Like, I don't know. It was just like, I was so nervous for no reason. Like, I feel like I built up all these like insecurities and like situationships. And I'm like, no quiero que diga nada malo, which he would never say. I mean, he's also still learning like the lingo and everything.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like a pivotal moment in my life where both my lives kind of
converged.
collided. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
I was like, I feel like this episode has me interrogating a lot of things.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I'm like, I hear what you're saying, and I don't want it. Like, I'm very happy with the boundaries that I have. Because I feel very complete, and I feel very... And it's interesting because you also brought up chosen family. I know we're going to dive into that as well, but I feel the same way about chosen family. Like, I really feel very comfortable being a solitary person in the world.
Yeah. I see that.
And so it's interesting to then, I think the hard part that I wrestle with is then the expectations that are set on us. And I think low-key that being queer made it easy. Because I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna get rejected. Fuck it, I'm gonna go live my life.
Yeah,
you know
that's kind of what
like, that's what I prepared for.
Yeah,
same.
That's what we've all, in a way, like we like created these boundaries, right?
100%.
And the decision is whether we want to loosen them or not.
Right. So as
I was super siloed too. Like I had my queer life, and I felt like when I would go back to my family,
life.
I had to like code switch a little, and I was just like,
totally.
I kind of don't want that. I don't know. I kind of
So
just wanted
you didn't
to
want that anymore, and I didn't want that anymore.
So what I'm sitting with is like, have I normalized it so much that I'm okay with the boundary? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
But the boundaries are good. I mean, I don't talk about everything with like my family.
I mean, my mom came to my first performance 2 years ago.
Yeah. And that was the first time.
That was the first time, and she saw me do a whole 1 hour show.
And how did you feel about that?
I mean, it was nice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like...
It didn't mean like the world to you.
No, it wasn't like, you know, and I feel like, for example, I've never told my dad that I'm queer, and I don't need to, whatever, like I'm fine. But we have our moments that are coded in that. Like he le pone apodo todo mundo. I feel like we all Latino se sabe.
Yeah.
Everyone
El pelón, que el rascuache, whatever.
El cagado.
El cagado, right. And it's always porque una vez, hace años, se cagó en los calzones, right? It's like always stories.
Right. Branded for life.
Right. You were like, yo, that shit happened when I was 7 and I'm 43 now.
I peed my pants once.
Right. So my dad gave me a nickname, Juanga.
Oh, so you're Juanga.
So I'm Juanga.
Forever.
Or now that I have like, or that I dyed my hair, La Güera. And it's like, it could be a little like, I don't know. I think it's just offensive because it's offensive in the way that it's for just, we are rooted in a lot of being offensive, I think, as Latinos. Living in Mexico now, I know that that's rooted in a lot of generational trauma, but that's a whole nother episode. But like, at least for example, the Juanga, to me, that's a queer coded way of knowing that he knows that I know and that I know that he knows. You know what I mean? And out of all the queer stereotypes you can call me, you calling me Juanga. Like, I'm down to be a famous singer-songwriter. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? That's talent.
One of the most iconic Mexican artists.
Right. Like, and I'm showing up as a Juanga, you know, like a modern, you know, fiesta mexicana or whatever you want to call it. But so I hear that. Again, I think the hard part is wrestling with now my nephew, because my nephew brought us so close in so many different ways. I think I have done the work to understand my own parents' traumas. I always say that get to know your parents and you'll know the trauma that raised you.
Yeah.
And so I've been to learn to be empathetic and stuff like that, but I'm okay with the boundaries. And I'm just, it's okay. Like I'm fine. I feel like I don't need to overanalyze that or open that up yet, because I feel like I'm living fine and in peace. I think the thing that I've been sitting with, and your story with your dad brought this up, and it's something I might go to therapy for, but my mom just is always apologizing to me. And I'm like, it makes me a little uncomfortable, because I'm like, stop giving me all the attention when you have 3 other kids.
Like apologizing and like how you grew up? Or?
No, there's a couple of traumas that we share together that she apologizes for, but a lot of it is for thinking that she's a been a bad mom and that she made all of her parenting mistakes with me as the oldest. And so I've asked other friends who are mothers, like, do you apologize to your firstborn child? And so I've been like doing my own research.
Because I guess we are the guinea. I'm also a first.
Yeah.
The first.
You
We're like the
también,
guinea
you
pigs of
también.
like, I don't know,
Sí.
but
What I've been sitting with is I feel like she needs to hear, you're forgiven.
yeah. And
Yeah.
you're fine.
And you're fine.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, it's always, and it's too much. And I'm like, stop. Like, why are you doing that? Like, go apologize to your other kids. Like,
I
you're
wonder,
fine.
like, yeah, what is, ¿qué querrá? She wants that peace. Does she want something more? Does she want something more?
I don't know. I should ask her.
Yeah, I wonder if she, like, wants something different from your relationship.
From that, yeah.
Not to...
No, I totally agree. I'm like, I got amigas, this became a therapy session. Perdona, amigas.
Apologize right now.
Llámenle.
Llámele. ¿Dónde están teléfonos?
Ay, no. Esto ya se
Well, your
puso
mom's actually here with us today.
Ay, no, pendeja. Oye, ya se puso fuerte. Mire, si van a traer algo, mejor tráiganme una paleta. ¿Dónde están las paletas? Ya se antojó una.
You brought up a good point. Like, I don't think I need to say that I'm queer in every space. Like, we had like a mutual understanding, my parents, my like situations, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to like kind of mesh them in some way capacity.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But I feel like everyone has like a different
Yeah.
Right.
journey, and we're in different phases of our lives and how we get there as well.
Right.
too.
I mean, ask me by the end. I mean, maybe in another episode we'll give an update and all of a sudden, like, the closest, you know what I mean? Or traemos a mi mamá something. I don't know. I
At
mean,
the end of the
yeah.
episode, Wanda llorando. No, I'm kidding.
For real?
I was trying not to. I was like,
I know, that was cute though. It's beautiful. I totally hear what you're saying, but I don't know. I don't know. That's still a very heavy conversation. I don't know if I'm ready to unpack that. Maybe a couple minutes from now. Pero si me van a traer algo, mejor tráigame una paleta, que no ha llegado el pinche paletero. ¿Dónde está?
onta.
Ándale.
Hablando del rey de Roma y el güey que se asoma.
¿El güey de qué?
El güey que se asoma.
El que se asoma.
Las
Hola.
paletitas.
Hola,
Hola,
Cariño.
¿cómo están?
Doctora.
Hablando de familia,
Ahora.
You take
Con mucha
tarjeta?
sed.
aquí tenemos, bueno, no te lo
¿Qué
pido por
aceptas? ¿Qué
ahorita.
aceptas?
En
Ah,
chip.
what is it? Ask, grass, or cash.
Ay,
A ver.
yo te doy las tres, bebé.
Lista,
Ay,
para que la
no.
chupen. Una para ti,
Yes.
una para ti, una para ti. Disfruten.
Le voy a llamar a mi paleta productora, como si te estuviera chupando a ti.
Dale, vale.
No, I mean,
Disfruta, que
quick
están bien
question.
ricas.
Quick question.
What's up?
We've been talking about family this episode.
wait.
Where are you in your family, like sibling wise? Are you the oldest, only child?
I am the oldest out of quite a few. So my mom has, with my stepdad, we have two little brothers, 10 years and 11 years apart, so I'm the oldest. And then from my dad's side, I have 4 siblings and I'm the oldest as well. Yeah.
We have a lot of
oldest,
parallels.
You're the oldest,
Más
oldest.
viejo,
Yeah.
sí.
Ay, con razón,
He's the daddy of the
Por
group.
eso eres una
Daddy.
mamá.
Por eso soy una mamá, sí. Sí. Y nuestra relación es completamente diferente como a lo que era antes, porque antes era super isolated because I just wanted to avoid being rejected, and already felt rejected. And then eventually, you know, my stepdad passed away, and then my family and I became a lot closer.
It's always death or life.
Death or life.
So unfortunately, death brought us together, but fortunately, at the same time, it could have gone, you know, the opposite way and could have been even more isolated.
That's real.
Pero sí.
Thank you for
Disfruta su
sharing.
paletita.
Gracias.
I'll get one later.
Yo,
A ver, dame la basurita.
You're like,
pinche palo de la paleta had a fucking little blister, man.
Uy.
what?
No mames.
No te espinas.
Mira, si me vas a enterrar, por favor, entiérrame otra cosa, ¿no?
Don't sue me.
¿De esa
Bye.
paletita? Esta ni la siente. I mean,
Oye, pues,
Pero esta sí.
I think what's standing out to me is how, especially because of our queer identity, like a lot of us had to make a lot of adjustments in order to be, like, close ourselves off, muchas cosas to be okay, ¿verdad?
Or that a lot of our first approach to family was a response to fear. It never was.
Eso.
It was never rooted in love. It was never rooted
Yeah,
necessarily
damn.
in the lack of love. Maybe in the lack of love. But I think one thing I was sitting with as we were all sharing is that one thing we have in common is like what we will do in response to fear.
Yeah.
Either the isolation, either the boundaries, either the not fully, truly being ourselves. But I think for the most part, it's really rooted in fear. That's wild.
but I feel like we get to that point too with like, I mean, as queer folks, a lot of the time, esa.
¿Qué pasó?
Ya me la comí.
Una mordida y se le fue la paleta.
No, amiga, yo no voy a poder hablar todo el episodio.
I feel like for me, my relationship with my family got better because I found a chosen family, like in my queer identity and when I left home to go to college. And when we'll dive into that a little bit later, but I feel like something that we could all agree on is our chosen family kind of helped us figure out who we were in this queer journey, and also at some point give us like what we couldn't have with our actual family, or what we couldn't express with our actual family.
And how maybe that allowed us to then later have it with us.
Later on,
Pues algo, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Well, before we dive any deeper into chosen or found families, I think it's now a great time to go into our favorite segment, ¿Sabías qué? So we've been talking about chosen families, or also referred to as found families. You know, they actually play a very important role in queer people's lives, given that about 39% of queer adults have usually faced some sort of rejection from birth families. And so found families can fulfill that sort of a functional role. It's also important to note that there are about 40% of youth experiencing a homeless experience who are actually LGBTQ. And a lot of the times it's these chosen families that, again, continue to play that pivotal role in young people's lives. And so that is chosen or found families. Por un ejemplo, have you seen the series Pose? Por eso les dicen mother bitch, porque chosen family. Por eso es madre. Porque aquí estamos buscando madres en todo otro lugar, como dijo la canción de Mon Laferte, buscando tu paternidad en muchos hombres.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, girl, me and my daddy issues. That's why I'm a hoe. Truly.
Well, so now that we know a little bit more about what a chosen family is and our found family is, how did you guys find your chosen family or your found family?
I think I definitely did have, now that I think about it, I was
And
reflecting.
like, it's probably evolved too, no?
Yeah, I feel like you find
100%.
multiple chosen families throughout.
Yeah, I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, even with my chosen families, I'm gonna say families, because they've been multiple in different moments of my life. But I will say the first like chosen family that I had was actually rooted in my activism, because I've been organizing for such a long time. And a lot of it was like organizing around marriage equality back in 2008 here in Los Angeles and also in the state of California. And so a lot of my chosen family at that time were other people who were out on protest. Shout out to the Bus Riders Union. I was actually texting my tocayo earlier this morning, and we were just kind of talking about that. But so for me, it was rooted a lot in organizing and in activism. I think I found a way to like, I've always been an angry person and child. A lot of people don't know that, but I think that finding social justice allowed me to direct my anger into injustice. So it feels socially acceptable and it's more calming. I mean, I'm emotional intelligence. So I think that's where it started. And it's fluctuated a lot. And the other chosen families that I found have been other artists, so other dancers, other choreographers that I've known for years. And so it's always been rooted in some capacity in my queerness, but also in my identity as an artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very much like on that journey now. I think for a long time, I you know, going back to that people pleasing, I think I was just trying to fit into being something that I wasn't. And so the reflection of my community was that, and it was one where I didn't always feel the most authentic version of me. And it's feel like now I see at my big age, I feel like I'm still shedding layers of things that weren't like fully my true self, like still kind of hiding shit, right? So I feel like now is the most como real, authentic moment of like really finding a chosen family that's really rooted in exactly who I am, and now understanding what I really need from people. So I feel like I'm in the truest exploration of that than I have ever been. Porque there was a time where I was in a sorority when I was in college, and that was totally not reflective of
Was that more like a forced family? Because it's a sorority.
It was
Forced family.
Forced families, bitch.
Was it
That's
Latina
another topic.
sorority?
No,
or
it was like
white?
a regular white-ass sorority.
Girl, let me find out she was a Tri-Delta.
I was a Kappa
To the
Alpha.
chant.
I was Kappa Alpha Theta. Kappa Alpha Theta.
Con razón!
Ahí se
Delta,
encontraban
Delta, Delta.
todas las juntas.
Sí, sí, sí.
No, I did have some crushes, not gonna lie.
Some what?
Some crushes on
She was like
on
forced family,
on
but chosen lovers.
on my
bitch.
sisters.
Forced family, chosen lovers.
On my little sisters.
That's going to be the title of the podcast.
Ay, Dios. Ay.
No, yeah, pero pues esas ya no son mis amigas, right? Porque no, because that was me like performing, you know? I went to college trying to like you know, I went to Stanford, and so like I didn't come from a community where people went to
Ivy League. We forgot we have an Ivy League Latina here.
Like I didn't come from a community where people went to Stanford. Like nobody had gone to Stanford from my school in I don't know how like many years, right? And so when I got to Stanford, I was like, well, I don't want to be seen like the Latina. Like I don't want to be put in this box. I don't want people to think that I shouldn't be here. And so I was sort of like trying to like kind of shed that part of me in order to like fit in and be. And so that's like why I ended up going into it. So yeah, and that shit was kind of traumatic, to be honest.
Well, I really hope that as we go through the journey of this project, that we kind of become a chosen family too.
Yeah.
Because you know, when this project, because I mean, for real, just
no,
because I really, and all of us, even the production team, everybody. But no, I think when AnaShelia and I first talked about the project, what I told her that I thought was dope, I was like, well, we know of each other and we know of each other, but we don't know each other.
Like that.
Right. And then I was like, I think the really cool thing is that, and I'm hoping that ustedes allá en casita begin to watch and begin to see this relationship develop. And I feel like even in the last couple of episodes that we filmed, we get to know each other a little bit more, that I think it made it easier for us to talk about a heavier episode like family.
Yeah.
You know, now. This couldn't be episode 1.
Yeah. No, but I think like where I am today with Chosen Family it feels really sweet because I am closer to myself than I have ever been. And I think where I am now, and I think what we need at different times is it changes. And what I need now is what I realized is when I first came out, my community wasn't as Latine as it is now. And then as I went through this journey, I realized I was really missing that connection con otros. You know, there's just another layer of understanding. Like, you know, we have a connection, we're all queer, that's great. But then you meet somebody that's Latine and queer, like there's another layer of understanding that you share. And that's just so beautiful. So for now, like I've really been loving really expanding my circle of queer Latina friends, which when I first came out, that wasn't what my circle looked like. And it's become more important to me.
I'm curious to think about, and this, of course, this goes for all of us, are there moments in which you think that the chosen family and maybe a bio or a forced family come together? What's that relationship? Are there boundaries? How do you differentiate? It's a little bit like multiple questions, but so pick your poison.
No, that's a good question, because I feel like mine have kind of meshed throughout the years, because my first like chosen family was leaving my little small town. Like, I mean, I grew up like south of Chicago in like Northwest Indiana. And when I left to go to like the big city of Chicago, like that's where I met my first queer folks. Like I didn't have any queer friends.
Yeah.
So I was like going to like gay clubs for the first time when I was like 18, 19 and like
Not finding out that Cesar's a country bitch.
Country? No, I'm like Midwest. She's a Midwest girl. I mean, I was born in Texas, but I grew up like
it's a different type of
Chicago,
country.
It's a little country. It's
I'm like, it is.
Midwestern,
But you said North
country.
Indiana. I have family in North Indiana.
Northwest Indiana. I'm like, it was like 40 minutes from the city.
Right.
From the city.
From the city. From the city.
Que no es rancho. Ay,
But all my tios have like ranchos in like Illinois, like India. Like it's like
it's country. It's country.
But also my family is from like Los Santos de Jalisco, so it's very rancho.
Your country. I mean,
your country.
He's country
Paisa,
like through
girl.
and through.
Yeah.
Paisa country.
Vaqueros, it's in the roots.
I know.
Una ciudad.
Charros.
Una chica de la ciudad.
Te queda muy bien. Te queda muy bien.
Hago de todo. City girls and rancho life. But it wasn't until
the city life chose you.
The streets chose
Una
me.
nació aquí. No. That's all the topic. Perdón, I interrupted.
No, but when I went to Chicago, I feel like I was like, oh my God, there's so many queer people here, and I didn't have that like growing up. So I feel like that's where I felt comfortable like finding my family. But it was a lot of times like a lot of like white gays, and it wasn't until I found like my queer gays that I was like, oh, like these are like primos, these are like hermanas, like it's like a different understanding. But that kind of gave me confidence to like be myself, not care about what anyone else wanted. And then also finding like Mexicans anywhere I go. Like I feel like every time I go to a different city, like in Chicago, I always find like my Mexicanos, my little paisas, like my first generation kids that like we could all like communicate, like connect on like having immigrant parents. And then coming to LA, like I find my queer Latinos, my Mexican friends. So I feel like they all kind of like end up meshing together and just feeling like an extension of my actual family, because they almost feel like they're primos or like siblings in a way. But I
mean,
like,
they could be your
with you.
primos. You have so many. No?
I mean, I do have a lot. Everyone's family. We all family. But I feel like they all mesh. I feel like especially my Latinos and my queers, like they all kind of mesh together. And then they've met my family too. So I feel like we all kind of like are just a big family. You don't mesh yours together? Your chosen.
I like to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
I think because then there's an opportunity to know of like, I think, and this is something that I've learned as I've gotten older, and like, for example, even with like the joking, like Nalgona and stuff like that, right? Like as I started becoming an artist, I used my full name, Jose Richard, o la Pepa o la Pepe. That's
Alias.
La Pepita, pero si te portas mal, la Pepota. No, but like I started using my full name, and that just allowed me to compartmentalize. So when people started calling me only Jose or versus only Jose Richard, I knew how people knew me, so I knew the way I had to comport myself. And the same with Nalgona, because I've always been such an open book. And I think it's just a nice little boundary in my mind. And so I think to the same place, like, there are certain things that like just the boundaries mesh a little bit, but my family can sometimes be the things that I'm still working through. And because that still requires a lot of work, I don't want my chosen family to mesh into that, because it's a break and it's a healing from what I'm working through.
I see. That really makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that distinction.
And at the same time, I think one thing I told my sister, and I wrote this tweet about this, that I was like, you have to invest in the joy with your siblings, because literally the default of the relationship with our siblings is trauma bonding. Because we can talk shit about the parenting that raised us. And that's fine, because you need some of that. But if you're not investing in the joy of that relationship, the only thing that will bring us together is our trauma bonds. And so that's been something I've been working through as well.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that's a good episode, talking about siblings and...
Talk about siblings.
Let's talk about that. I mean, we can talk about that a little later también. But I'm
El
curious.
bonus episode para nuestros seguidores en Patreon.
What do y'all, what does, like, so what are you most comfortable with today? Because something that I've realized that's changed for me is que, going back to the sorority life, I was like in an all-female environment, right? All cis, like, mostly het, like female environment. And what I realized is that that kind of environment is a little triggering to me because I had to perform womanhood in these environments.
Can I offer a word just from what the journey that I know that you're on and that you shared with us? Maybe not just performing womanhood, but performing cisness?
Yeah, could be too. And so I realize now, like, I find those environments, like, not the most comfortable. Like, I don't feel comfortable in all women environments because there's like I need to, and also because when people are like in groups, a veces se juntan y empiezan, and they do kind of perpetuate some of those like things, right? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable in that. And it took me a minute. I'm like, oh yeah, I actually don't feel comfortable. And I didn't realize that. And so I actually really feel most comfortable in actually mixed spaces. And preferably queer-centered, basically queer-centered mixed spaces feel the most comfortable to me.
That should be an episode, I think, especially as being in our age, because like non-binary really is a term that comes out of millennial, like not millennials, but out of Gen Z. Really, as someone who's been organizing for a long time, I'm like, I've seen the progression of queerness. And like the they, thems and the non-binaries, like that as a term and as a language, I think is fairly new. So I think it'd be interesting for us to like talk about our journey and like when we've been asked to perform cisness. I've never said that out loud, but I was like,
that's a really good,
it has something like that.
Because I feel like we're always sometimes unconsciously doing that.
Yeah.
Or like even growing up, I feel like if I was around my primos or like around tios, like I would like kind of try not to be like, I don't know, change my mannerisms a bit.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. And now that I'm older, I feel like I just like, me vale. Like I feel like I only surround myself with people that I really care about and like help me grow, and we're helping, like supporting each other emotionally. Like, and a lot of times it is Mexican queer spaces.
But what was the question you said? What is something that's changed about us?
Or like,
that we
what do you
lean
feel
in,
most comfortable with today? What does that look like?
And what
for
like
you?
spaces?
Yeah. Like has that changed?
I feel like for me, it's always been like women. I'm so comfortable around like even my like cis girlfriends. Like I feel like in school, like I always sat with the girls. Like the girls always like welcomed me. Even now as an adult, I have so many girlfriends that I feel like that's like where I feel the most comfortable.
Yeah. Yo, this is really interesting because I realized I wasn't as comfortable with women because I felt like I needed to perhaps perform cis. And then maybe for you, it's like, oh, with women, you don't have to try to perform like being extra masculine or like some, no sé. And I don't know if that resonates.
Part of the girls.
I don't know if that resonates with you, but like trying to.
He's, the
like,
she's,
yeah.
the they.
Does it?
And, I have a lot of guy straight friends that I'm so comfortable with, and we're all comfortable with each other, and like my primos too, but even like my queer like Mexican friends, like I love them and I feel like they're just like siblings at this point, but I'm always gravitating towards like my girlfriends, like my cis girlfriends. I don't know, I think it's just like level of or sense of comfort when I'm with them. And a lot of them are Mexican, so I feel like they feel like my primas, and also my primas growing up were like my little safety net.
Yeah.
When I was at family parties, when I was at like family things.
They took care of you.
Yeah, they took care of me. So I don't know. I feel like I love my girls.
You know, for me, it comes very much, it's not even about people or spaces anymore. I will say that I do enjoy being a unicorn, and that feels like another episode for sure. Like just being this like cute little thing that comes in and brings goodness to your life, but leaves and comes back.
Brings paletas.
Ajá. Yo porque crecí, ay, la productora, yo de que cuando quiera bebé, entiérrame el pala. No es cierto, no es cierto. Y ahí está el marido, amiga.
Ya está casado, déjalo en paz.
Sí.
The next topic is going to be divorce.
Divorce court. Caso cerrado. No. That was a lot. Espérese. Sorry.
Not them laughing in the back.
I know. You know what it is for me? And it is something that actually has come from my chosen family, pushing me to be a little bit more. But I think it's been this notion of like reclaiming my femininity. And it's been a long, long journey for sure. And it was like, I've always identified as a femme. And there was this moment where like I trained in different dance forms, and some of those dance forms involved dancing in skirts. And I felt very comfortable dancing in skirts, but I don't necessarily wear skirts in the day-to-day life. And it's been something about like, why is it? Is it because you don't enjoy it, or because you're still afraid of your femininity in public? And so I have a friend, shout out to Nacho, who dresses me, vestida por Nacho J.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm wearing a dress.
Yeah.
Because it's been this constant, well, not this constant, but it's been a challenge and an invitation to lean in to who I am as a femme, even in the way that I'm presenting myself.
Yeah.
And so it's been really, really fun through fashion to be able to explore that. Like right now, you'll see it in some of the episodes, but I have these pieces that look like skirts, but they're actually pants with like a big apron or tela apron. So it gives the fantasy that it's a skirt, but it's been like my way of leaning into my femininity. And I think that challenge comes from being around chosen family.
And you feel safe being that too, like around them.
Yeah, I do. And at least in LA, I do for sure. I mean, because it's my hometown, and that's another episode for sure. But being in a place that's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of you, I'm like, girl, I'm from here. Like,
aquí me vale.
See, aquí sí, o sea, like I know how to navigate my way in this city that in other places that you don't know, that's another layer of unknown that can foster fear, so.
Well, I feel like a main thing that we talked about was our chosen family, but also community and how we build that community throughout the years. And I feel like for someone that I didn't have community when I first like was diving into that queer journey, what is some advice you would give to people watching like about finding a chosen family, where to find their community? Because I feel like there's so many like baby queers out there that like might not have the support of their family or might not have that like blessing or privilege as some of us have in our journey.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say one thing to start. I mean, I think it's, you know how you feel when you go into a space, right? And are you feeling, like check in with your body, which has been really beautiful for me. It's been a more recent exploration too, a somatic exploration. Is like, ¿qué siento? You know, like, are you feeling tension? Are you feeling a tightness? Are you feeling a little stiff? So just checking in with your body, and you'll know, like when do you feel like you can actually be yourself? And that's what you're looking for in a chosen family, right? It's like where you feel safe, where you feel comfortable, where you feel like you're not performing. Well, it's hard to totally not perform, pero lo menos posible, right? As you're kind of coming into yourself. So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah. One of the things I've always sit with is the body knows the trauma that it houses and the medicine that it needs. So definitely agree with you on that. And I mean, I would definitely, I will speak for myself because I statements, but I think my co-host would agree with this. I hope, and I think part of the reason I joined this project is that Las Paleteras can also become a chosen family for those who need that little bit of that boundary, and it's just a virtual family que nos escuchan y se sienten en casa con sus primas o a los que nos ven, a los que nos siguen y a los que nos vamos a comer al rato. We all can be your chosen family. Slide in the DMs.
So I was going to say slide in the DMs. The comments, the DMs,
I know.
personal socials.
I'm going to have several reasons for this project.
Ay, sí, cierto. Sí.
If you're in LA, hit us up.
Busca una paleta y la paletota.
Todos los sabores que te gusten.
Ay, nosotros somos las paleteras, pero en búsqueda de paletotas. But I would say that right now we are. I hope that we can be that for folks.
Yeah, I feel like there's chosen family anywhere. Like, look for it. Maybe there's community groups in your towns or like in a bigger city that you could find a friend that could provide that little safe space here and there.
And that is trial and error, right? I think we all kind of share that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all moved different areas to kind of find that. And now we're in LA.
And I think kind of that is the beauty of the chosen family, that you have the invitation and the permission to it to be malleable. Because in some cases, I mean, we've been told, especially in Latino culture, that your bio family is your family. Yeah. And you're like,
you have to do everything for ellos, right?
And it's like, but what do I do when you're the ones causing all my harm?
Right.
Or how do I grow if I stay?
Or how do I grow?
Yeah.
100%.
Bueno, pues ya llegamos al final de este episodio because we could keep talking for hours, as you can see. I'm Cesar Camacho.
Yo soy Nalgona.
Y yo soy AnaShelia.
Y recuerden, la vida es más sabrosa con nosotras porque somos
Las Paleteras.
Las Paleteras.
Hi, Paletitas. This podcast is produced by Joel and Elpidio Perez, along with your hosts. Las Paleteras is edited by Augusto Martinez, with music by Cintia Morado and Ingrid Guijarro. Special thanks to our friends at Mitu and Sonoro for production support.